I remember back when Game of Thrones was ruined, everyone was saying it's the worst finale of all time, now the show's terrible and shit like that. And you see that a lot, this is the worst show of all time. Holy shit, the writing couldn't be this bad on anything. And it always makes it very clear to me you've never seen American Horror Story, you fucking swine. American Horror Story is an incredibly unique show that really revels in the goofiness, over the top nonsense that it puts on screen, and I fucking love it. In American Horror Story, you're not going to find any semblance of good writing. The whole show feels like it's written by a middle schooler going through his Pierce the Veil stage. It's incredible to me. There's more character development in porn parodies. The characters that walked in on Pawn Stars to sell shit have more character development through that episode than the characters throughout an entire season of American Horror Story. Power Rangers has better writing. And if you want to talk about shitty season finales, American Horror Story sets the gold standard. They never know how to conclude any of their seasons. It's as if the director goes in the day of filming, shits his pants and comes up with it on the spot. Just as a fat key bump of coke, gives himself a coffee enema, his eyes roll into the back of his head, and he just starts fucking ghost writing the most nonsensical, silly endings possible. Let me give you an example. Last season was about the world ending because the Antichrist came and the witches fought back to bring the world back and save everyone. Well, in the final episode, the main witch enters into a bathtub to travel back in time to fight the Antichrist. She goes back in time successfully through the bathtub, and the Antichrist is a teenager who's having a temper tantrum with his mommy. And he storms across the road only to get hit by an SUV driven by the witch. And that's how that boss battle was taken down, that raid boss. Just hit him with an SUV and the Antichrist died and the world was saved. Thanks to the power of Ford, I guess. It's fucking genius. The show is the result of what would happen if you gave someone's edgy 16-year-old a decent budget. But that 16-year-old just didn't really have much talent. They just had a vision that they didn't have the talent to bring to life. It's fucking great. I love the show. I unironically like the show, by the way. I think it's one of the few shows that is totally fine with being subpar in every possible category and creating something totally unique. And I love it. This season was no different. This season was American Horror Story 1984. It just ended last week. And this may very well be one of their best seasons just because of how ridiculous it turned out to be. To give you perspective, they forgot to write a final episode. They didn't write an actual climax. So the whole season was about Camp Redwood, a place where these horrific mass murders took place over the course of decades. And the Emma Roberts, who I think is a great actress, and she's even good in American Horror Story, which is saying something because nobody's good in American Horror Story, but she does a good performance, as she usually does, and she plays the main character, Brooke, who has a very troubled past. Let me give you just a little sampler, let me give you a little quick cum shot of the kind of writing you'll find around these characters. Her troubled past consists of her previous engagement. She was getting married to a man she thought she loved, but she was a virgin, and she was saving herself for marriage for him. But he thought she cheated on him because his friend went to her house the night before the wedding. And so, naturally, his response to learning this was, on their wedding day, he brought a gun to the ceremony, and as they were saying their vows, he brought out the gun, shot her dad, shot his best friend, and then shot himself in front of her after saying, "This is your fault, Brooke." It's genius. You can't possibly comprehend the subtleties in there, those nice little vicissitudes that the director was able to expertly weave into this piece of art. A magnum opus of writing, I'd say. So she has this troubled past, and then she teams up with this group of other people her age who all have this troubled past, and they all go to Redwood to escape. But the day before Brooke decides to go along, she gets attacked by a serial killer named the Night Stalker, whom she's able to fight off. And this is important because the serial killer has the power of Satan, Billy Idol, and anime on his side, and he doesn't take kindly to not getting his prey. So this supernatural, Satan-worshipping, Lucifer-approved serial killer follows Brooke. Now, they all get to Redwood, and there's another serial killer that ends up at Redwood named Mr. Jingles. And then by the end of the season, there's another serial killer that ends up at Redwood. And then by the end of the season, there's another serial killer that ends up at Camp Redwood, all pretty much out of nowhere. It's fucking great. It's as if you're watching a television show of the director playing with action figures in his bathtub and he's just bringing new ones in from the box as his mom brings them in. It's fucking crazy. It is incredible what they've been able to do with this shit and get away with, really. It's awesome. I'm glad that this show exists because I do love it. But man, is it a objectively horrible show. Not only is the writing bad, but the acting is so incredibly flat from almost every character except Emma Roberts. Every other character feels like they don't give a fuck. Occasionally there's moments of good acting, but most of the time it's when they're getting killed they go, oh, ow, ooh, stabby, stab, oh, stab, oh. Or if they're feeling sad, they're like, oh, I'm real sad. I'm very sad because you know why I'm sad. Then they explain why they're sad for the 50th fucking time. Eventually, when some plot details are unraveled, you don't hear the fucking end of the motivation because they don't know how to write a character. So, why didn't you kill her? Well, I didn't kill her because I wasn't able to. But you know you need to kill her because I don't like her, and this is why I don't like her. Did you forget why I don't like her? I'll tell you again. So then they tell him again. It's bad. It's really fucking bad, but I absolutely love this show. And to really put a nice bow on the beauty of American Horror Story, this season, they did something they've never done before. They've set a new low in the kind of shit they do on the show. They forgot to write an ending. The new season of American Horror Story doesn't have a climax. It doesn't have an ending. What it has is what would happen after an ending. It gives you an epilogue. So the episode before the final one has this setup. It has you leading down this path that's going to have this setup, this payoff, a climax. Everything does. Movies, television shows, even fucking high school plays do. But American Horror Story forgot it. So what they do in the final episode is just give you a recap, a bunch of flashbacks telling you what happened. And it's this montage of just breakneck pace garbage. So all those serial killers that I mentioned that end up there, well, within the span of about 30 seconds, you see all of them just get killed in the epilogue, just out of nowhere. I'm sorry to spoil it, but it's worth talking about. Out of nowhere, these serial killers that some of them they built up over the course of the last 8 episodes, some of them they just introduced in the last one, but over this course, they all just get killed immediately in these series of flashbacks as they're being told to another character. It's wild. It's absolutely wild. They forgot the most important component, which is a payoff and a climax. And these characters constantly keep making different decisions and different things. You know how I said all the characters had a troubled past? Well, none of it mattered because they forgot the troubled past. That was their solution to that. But it's fucking incredible to have a show that doesn't have an actual ending or a climax because you just forgot it. I love it. I absolutely love it. And that is why I think American Horror Story is one of the best shows on TV. Fucking awesome. I love the show. That's it. See ya.